Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode number 69. Today we are going to be exploring the Equilux and the Equinox. We're going to be talking about strange monoliths that pop up in the middle of nowhere, and we are going to have some readings, some poetry, and talk about the moon. So grab a cup of tea, get comfy, get some incense on, get ready, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi everyone, thank you for watching, thank you for being here. I'm Wren, I'm known as the Cemetery Witch, and every Friday we get together for a cup of tea, we burn some incense and we talk about the week previously and the week to come, covering as many witchy topics as we can. We just get to hang out together basically. So how are you all doing? What have you been up to? Today I am drinking some Focus from Twinings, still working my way through these tea bags. I have one hot drink a week, which is every Friday on the Witching Week, and so it takes quite a while to get through. I really need to start investing in these boxes of mixed tea, and then that way I can mix it up a bit and it's a bit more interesting for you guys as well. But it's also about what you like to drink, isn't it? And I love this one. I think it's like pineapple and ginseng. I can never remember, but it's really, really nice. Today I am burning some Swanasai Flora Batty from Moksh, I think is the brand. So some proper Indian incense, and it says fulfills your wishes instantly. So it's got that sort of built-in intention into it. Only cost me £1.20 from Glastonbury, so really, really love this one. My husband's not quite as keen, but I really like these sort of heavy, pungent incense, sort of Indian incenses. For me, they feel really, really sort of authentic, and they actually do something to the atmosphere and the energy of a room. So yeah, I really, really like these. It's quite strong, but if you like a strong incense, then perfect. It will make the whole house smell. So what have you guys been up to? The week just flies past so quickly. I feel like I'm sitting here recording the Witching Week one moment, and then the next moment we're back here again, but always really, really enjoy it. This week we've had, last Friday was International Women's Day, wasn't it? And then also on the same day as International Women's Day, we had Stu from Weird Raven's funeral. So I didn't go to that in person, I watched that online. I got a bit caught up with work on the Friday while it was happening, but I watched it only an hour or so later on. Very, very moving, very touching, beautiful, beautiful ceremony, and befitting of a really, really lovely man. Last night I went to my local moot. We gather once a month, and that was really, really nice. We spoke about the spring equinox, Nasara, and what we would like to sort of let go of. Before I get into that though, just want to show you my friend Sam's amazing products, and these are called salt sizzlers. So you burn them, it's like incense basically. You place the flame under the salt using an oil burner, and the amazing aroma permeates the air. So she's not yet launched this. Her business is called Pippin's Potions, and I'm so excited for her. These look absolutely amazing. They come in all colours, and she's worked some intentions into them. So if you were doing a certain type of spell work to encourage peace, for example, then those intentions have already been sort of like almost like preloaded into the salts via her own spell work, which complements your spell work. So I really, really love that idea. I will keep you posted on Pippin's Potions, so watch this space. But yeah, we spent the evening talking about renewal and resurrection and rebirth and all those themes that are around at this time of year, and talking about what we want to kind of let go of as we move into this new cycle. So it's a really, really interesting time, isn't it? For me, I am very much embracing this idea of feeling the fear of something and doing it anyway. So letting go of fear. Not that I'm a particularly fearful person, but sometimes as we go through life, we can place blocks on ourselves, can't we? Someone said to me once that we don't create abundance. Abundance is always there. We create blocks to it. So yeah, for me, it's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Definitely allowing trust, so trusting in divine timing. So it's not really something I'm letting go of. I think that's again tied up in sort of like letting go of fear. Yeah, working on trusting the universe, trusting that things always work out, which they do. Big changes, that's another big sort of key theme for me this year, which feels like it's sort of really apt right now, trying to implement some big changes to make life better. This thought keeps coming to my mind that if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got, you know, that kind of energy. So, you know, being brave, making some big decisions, trying some new things, putting yourself out there. And then I actually picked a word for the year at the beginning of this year, and I picked success. So obviously success looks different to different people, and I'm not sure if I actually took any time to think, well, what does success look like to me? When I chose that word, it just came to me. When I was reading something about, you know, picking words for the year, that was the word that instantly just kind of popped into my head. So I thought, yeah, I'll go with it. So I'd love to know what you guys are going to let go of, if anything, around about this time of year, whether you've spent any time reflecting on this, whether this is something you like to do at this time of year. For many people, it feels like a brand new start, a fresh start. And I definitely felt that energy at the beginning of the new calendar year, not something that normally bothers me. And I do feel that the energy of spring feels like the beginning of the year. But for me, the change of the calendar year was really important to me psychologically, because it had been such a rubbish year and this was a chance to start again. But I'm feeling that energy again as we approach the spring equinox, as the sun gets stronger, as we go into more hours of light. For me, that feels very much like a fresh start and a good time for beginnings. So yeah, we have the spring equilux coming on the 17th. That is when we have exactly 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. And the date of the equilux is different to the equinox, just because of how everything works, where we're positioned, the planet. That's just how it works. It happens a few days before the spring equinox and a few days after the autumn equinox. So we have the equilux on the 17th, and then we have the spring equinox on the 20th, Wednesday the 20th at 3:06 a.m. where I am, and that is astronomical equinox. So yeah, we've been celebrating, or you know, traditionally at this time of year people celebrate themes of resurrection, rebirth, renewal, and we see this around us in nature, don't we? We see bulbs coming up, we see a lot more flowers than we do in the winter. And one thing I am really noticing is the birds singing in the morning. So I think, I mean, they probably do that in the winter as well, don't they? But it's so late in the day that I'm up by that point, so I don't actually hear them, because I'm doing something, I'm listening to something, I'm making some noise somewhere. Whereas when you're in bed, you actually hear them. And I think that they are waking me up now, because I'm waking up, I would say, probably not that long after they've just started making a little bit of noise, and then just as I'm like properly coming round, they're just starting to get going. But yeah, I think the earliest birds are starting to wake me up now, and I absolutely love that. I love the summer, I love the sort of spring and late spring, and listening to the birds in the morning is one thing actually that gives me a great sort of amount of joy. It's a glimmer for me, definitely. It's definitely a glimmer. We spoke about glimmers either last episode or the one before. You might actually want to refer back to last episode for more Astara themes. We've spoken a little bit about it today, but we did actually start last week. So if you're new to the channel and new to the Witching Week, and you wonder why I'm not talking about Astara much, because we've got that coming up this week, I tend to try and get in there a little bit earlier so that people can get prepared if they're sort of new to witchcraft, new to the craft. So what's been going on this week in the world? Well, we've had another monolith appear. You've probably, wherever you are in the world, you've probably seen on the news and heard the stories of these huge metal monoliths springing up in the most random and isolated of places. So there was one that appeared in Wales this week, just a few days ago, in a place called Hay Bluff, and apparently it's 10 foot tall, and it's made of metal. somebody has described it as like surgical steel, so very, very smooth. Yeah, and it's just in a muddy field in the middle of what I assume is nowhere. The person who spotted it actually thought it was a UFO, like, you know, hovering or doing something, and then yeah, they found out it was this huge metal monolith. There is no way to drive up the hill apparently, so either a group of people had to carry it up there, or maybe it was deposited by a helicopter. There were no obvious tracks to it, which makes it even more mysterious. These have been spotted all around the world in the last sort of 3 or 4 years. In 2020, there was one that appeared in a really isolated part of the Utah desert, and it was spotted via a helicopter. And then it disappeared a few days later, and then one popped up in the Isle of Wight, and they've been seen elsewhere as well, apparently in isolated parts of Europe. I was having a little research about this morning, and I do remember the one that appeared on the top of Glastonbury Tor. That was on its side, and it was inscribed with the words "Not Banksy." So yeah, Cornwall as well, that's just sprung to mind, Cornwall. So all over really, very, very random, very, very mysterious. Now, my head kind of goes to sort of 2 things we could think about in terms of questioning who is this, you know, is it extraterrestrials, or, you know, is there some sort of like otherworldly influence on this, or is it basically a rich billionaire, someone who's got the money to perhaps drop one off in the Utah desert with a helicopter, remove it, and then go plonk it on the Isle of Wight. I'm not saying it was the same one, but yeah, very, very interesting. Let me know what you think. I would be really, really interested to know. So this week we are in the waxing part of the moon cycle, and we are heading towards an eclipse. We have a full moon eclipse in Libra on the 25th of March, so a week on Monday. So again, this really, really plays into these themes of letting go, purging, releasing, detoxing, basically, you know, letting go of things that don't serve you anymore, and making the intention to do this and to move forward. So it's not just about letting go of things and accepting things and accepting, you know, this letting go, this purging. It's actually then taking the step to move forwards. So very, very interesting energy right now, coming from all angles. It's been a bit of a weird week, I think, energy-wise. It's been very, I don't know what the word is, quite tense. I'm feeling tension. I don't know if you guys have sort of tuned into this. A couple of days ago, I got a bout of really, really bad anxiety randomly in the afternoon with no actual real reason for that. And that is not something I genuinely have to deal with. I do get anxious about some occasions and some big things and things that are just a bit of a headache, but not to the point where, you know, I would say that I suffer from anxiety randomly, and there's usually a reason. And then it was interesting because the next day I saw online someone I know had said that they had felt exactly the same on the exact same day, which I thought was a little bit weird. But yeah, the energy at the moment of the world, and just sort of, I want to say like in the air almost. Yeah, it feels very, very tense at the moment, energetically speaking. And I wonder if it's, you know, because we're moving towards this full moon eclipse in Libra. So we'll probably talk more about that in next week's episode. I wanted to do some readings today. One from the Almanac, Seasonal Guide to 2024 by Leah Leenders, and also A Year of Pagan Prayer. So I think I'll do this one second. It's a folk song, not quite as serious but beautiful nonetheless. And then yeah, we'll do this one first. I think we'll do this one first. So I thought it'd be really nice to have a poem from an Australian writer. So this is called, well, this is an excerpt from The Return of Persephone, and it's written by A.D. Hope, 1907 to 2000. That's when they lived. So I'm just going to read the little section before the poem and then read the reading itself. So after the abduction of Persephone, Demeter, goddess of fertility and agriculture, that was actually Persephone's mother, refused to allow anything to grow, and humankind starved. So too did the gods, who no longer received offerings from malnourished humans, As a result of Demeter's strike, Zeus, who had consented to the abduction, relented and allowed Persephone to be returned to her mother for 9 months out of the year. The traveller god in this poem is Hermes, who descends to the underworld to guide Persephone back to earth. So let's read this. The summer flowers scattering, the shout, the black manes plunging down to the black pit, memory or dream, she stood a while in doubt, then touched the traveller god's brown arm and met his cool bright glance and heard his words ring out. Queen of the dead and mistress of the year, his voice was the ripe ripple of the corn, the touch of dew, the rush of morning air. Remember now the world where you were born. The month of your return at last is here. So really, really love this book. We use this book a lot on the Witching Week. If you're new to the Witching Week, I really, really recommend it. It's by Barbara Nolan, and it is a source book of poems, hymns and invocations from 4,000 years of pagan history. So if you go to a moot or anything like that and you do readings, or you need a special poem for a pagan occasion and you're not sure where to go to find that, I thoroughly recommend this book. Quite a serious book though, quite a serious book. So I had a little look in the almanac to see if there was a poem or a song or something that we could also look at, and I wanted to read you Down by the Sally Gardens. So this is a song of remembrance of a youthful time spent with a lover, and of regret for acting in an impetuous manner, and therefore it appears losing her. There are references to snow and to growing grass in this song, both of which we might see in the garden in this unpredictable month, though here the snow imagery is used to underline the lover's innocent qualities, her little snow white feet and her snow white hand. The words were written by W.B. Yeats as an attempt to reconstruct a snippet of song sung to him by an old peasant woman in the village of Ballisadaire, County Sligo. He wrote it as a poem and remained that way until 1909, when Herbert Hughes set it to music using the old Irish melody, The Maids of Morn Shore. So yeah, the words are by W.B. Yeats, and the traditional arrangement is by Richard Barnard. So I'm not going to sing the song, I'm not going to sing this folk song. You can look it up, it'll probably be on YouTube. I expect there's multiple versions on there, but I really liked the words. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs, but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. So I thought that was really nice. It's a love story, but it's also making reference to spring. So yeah, I'm really, really, really in the spring mood. What about you guys? Are you feeling a lift in energy? Are you excited? Are you sad maybe? I know a lot of people really, really love the autumn and winter. For me, I just sleep less. I'm full of so much more energy, and I'm just really, really productive at this time of year. So I'm always really glad when it comes along. So yeah, off the back of that folk song, I wanted to share with you something that I have been listening to this week, last couple of weeks, which I have been a little bit obsessed with. It can be found on YouTube. There's a side 1 and a side 2, and it is Chanctonbury Rings. So it is a folk sort of hauntology album by Justin Hopper, Sharon Krause and the Bellbury Polly. And so it's like a spoken word set to folk music. The way I would describe it is like War of the Worlds meets The Wicker Man. So if you're into sort of weird folk music, a bit psychedelic, and you enjoy a spoken word album set to music, then Chanctonbury Rings is a really, really great one for you. I have been, like I said, I've been listening to this on repeat while I've been doing various tasks and just absolutely losing myself in it. I've never been to Shankton Ring. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go. It's in Sussex. It's basically a hill with a ring of trees, I think, on top, or a copse of trees. And there are lots of legends and stories, ghost stories, and apparently it's impossible to spend the night there. All the people that have tried have been scared off with various apparitions and ghosts and sightings and things that they've heard. So for example, soldiers from a certain era marching past, and yeah, it's supposed to be a very, very creepy place. I imagine it's really, really beautiful. I don't know if it's on, yeah, it must be the South Downs, I think. Anyway, Shankton Ring. I've never been there, I've always wanted to go, and now this album has just piqued my interest even further. So I will put a link down underneath in the description, and then if you want to have a listen to it. I would say it's, yeah, I think the guy narrating it might be an American actually. I saw a clip of not so long ago of the man and woman who created this actually doing it in a studio. I'm assuming it was them. I'm assuming it was Justin Hopper and Sharon Krause. I think he had an American accent, but I would say that this album itself is very, very British in its weird kind of like quirkiness, the whole folk thing. Obviously the topic, it's all about that part of Sussex. And yeah, it's just really, really awesome. I have been loving it. So yeah, I do really recommend that you check that out. You may well check it out and just think, what is this woman on about? But it's definitely right up my street. So yeah, really enjoyed that this week. Also this week, over on my Instagram page, we have been talking about what is your witchcraft superpower. So for me, as I explained, mine is very much my intuitive ways. I get a very strong knowing about things sometimes. I often understand how things are going to play out, how someone will behave and someone will act. That a lot of that is just getting older and having an understanding of people, having an understanding of their psychology. But I will quite often get information about something before we've got to the point where you can discern that. I am fairly psychic, and to the point, and I think I've told this story on the Witching Week before, I've certainly mentioned it online, on Instagram, that I knew I was going to break down about 40 hours before it happened. So I was at my parents' house with my daughter, and we had to do the journey home. It was the next day, like the next evening, and a couple of days before that, I started to get this feeling that I was going to break down basically on the way home. And the time we were traveling, it would be dark, it was winter. And I mean, some people might say, well, you manifested that because you thought about that, but it was totally random. You know, I did this journey a lot. There was no reason to suspect or think that I was suddenly going to break down on the way home. And I did. And yeah, it even influenced this knowing, it influenced my decision of which road I took home. There were two choices, one that I considered to be very, very dangerous on a road that I don't particularly like, and the other one, again, not brilliant, not a brilliant place to break down at all, but I went with that road in the end. And that is a sort of a less populated road in some ways, but also felt a bit more isolated compared to a large motorway. So very difficult decision. It got to the point where I literally made the decision just as the first turning came up, and I had to make a decision whether I took that or not. I didn't. I stayed on the road, and then I took the next road. We had barely got onto that road, so I was about an hour from my parents and about an hour from where I live at that point, and we broke down. And we broke down in possibly the best place along that entire stretch of road that we could have possibly broken down on. So we broke down on top of a bridge, major A road, but a bridge, and there was actually a path that went down to a roundabout and the road that went under our road. So if we'd really, really needed to, we could have abandoned the car and we could have got down there to safety. If someone had pulled over and given us any kind of like hassle, then again, I could have made an escape. And I think there was, I looked at the map and there was a superstore, like a big Tesco or something, not that far within walkable distance. So in terms of where I broke down, it was almost like because I tuned into my intuition, the universe listened and then just kind of made things as easy as possible. So yeah, I broke down in the best possible place, and it just blew my mind. And I think my parents thought I was a bit potty. My mum not so much, because my mum's like this, not her so much, but maybe my stepdad thought I was a bit potty talking about a breakdown that I hadn't even had yet before it had happened. And then yeah, so I phoned my mum and said, look, we did break down, and we're just waiting for recovery. We're getting sorted now, or we will be sorted soon, and I just wanted to like let them know that we did break down, I was right. So I would love to know what your witchcraft superpowers are. You may well have chatted with me about this over on Instagram, but for those of you that only sort of use YouTube, or maybe you want to share again, I would love to hear what your witchcraft superpowers are. And there have been some amazing descriptions of things that people experience that have been really, really interesting. So if you are on Instagram but you haven't had a look at that post, go over and have a look, because the comments are really super interesting. There's one person that has said that if anybody wrongs her, usually something bad happens to them, not by any will of hers, not by any thought of hers, not by any kind of interference by her. It's just something that seems to happen. It's like the universe kind of like dishes out this sort of karma. So yeah, some interesting responses like that, some very, very interesting skills. Someone has said that they're a beacon for people that are in distress. Another person said that they always seem to be around when a bird is in distress. That's the skill that they have. So yeah, let me know, what are your witchy sort of skills? Maybe you've got a skill or a gift that you never imagined in a million years that you would end up with, but you have. I'd be so interested to know. Right, so let's move on to doing some cards now. That's pretty much it for today's episode. I'd love to know how you're all doing. Are you coming out of hibernation yet if you're in the northern hemisphere? And if you're in the southern hemisphere, particularly in Australia, has it cooled down yet? I know it has been so hot. You guys have been literally baking, haven't you? It's been 30 plus degrees. I'm feeling more like 40 degrees. Okay, so we've got 4 cards today. We've got the Ace of Wands, we've got the Page of Pentacles, we've got the 3 of Wands, and we have Temperance. So again, I think these cards very much nod to the feeling of new starts, fresh beginnings, new projects, new plans, and definitely a thumbs up in terms of making a decision whether to sort of go for them, you know, go for your dreams and things like that. As always, I would say make sure that you plan anything that you're starting, you know, take that exuberant, excited, enthusiastic energy, but be careful how you distribute that and what you use with that energy. But a definite thumbs up. Lots of new exciting things on the horizon, that very much embodying that spring energy, and just a little nod and a little reminder to the fact that you can do absolutely anything you want. You know, it's possible to make your dreams and your goals and your aspirations, make them into something you want and make them into something sustainable. And sometimes that involves you sort of stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit. And sometimes that means, you know, that you have to stand and view and look at what's ahead. So again, this idea of like planning, but you can make whatever you want. And I think as humans, we're good at that, aren't we? Especially us women. If you give us sperm, we'll make a baby. If you give us a building, we'll make a home. If you give us some ingredients, we'll make a meal. And I feel like that is very much the energy of the week ahead. So that kind of like collaboration of, or bringing together of, you know, perhaps lots of little things and bringing it together to make it something solid. As with all things in life, it's really, really good to kind of be moderate in your movements and your actions and your behaviors and, you know, what you're saying. You know, try and take the middle road a little bit with this. Again, enthusiasm and exuberance and excitement might sort of be filling your head with this sort of desire to rush into things and go a bit crazy, but, you know, just be calm with all this, be measured, plan it. Very similar to the reading we had last week. Again, that was about just, you know, not rushing in a little bit, I think, or maybe it was the time before. But again, I feel like even though we have a reading for each week, sometimes the energy of one week kind of bleeds into the next. This overall arching sort of message about the energy that's sort of riding around at the moment. So yeah, no rash decisions. Be a bit moderate, walk the middle line, try and be a bit sort of balanced, not too extreme. Yeah, just just take things smoothly, calmly, peacefully, sensibly, kind of be fairly pragmatic in how you go about things. Brilliant. Right, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I am going to start trying to bring you some new videos soon. Again, with just work and stuff like that, we're still forming, we're still working out what it is we need to do within a week to, you know, successfully get things done, and I'm still sort of forming my working week a little bit. So at least I'm here. I'm trying my best to make the witching week. I know I've had a few off recently due to illness and funerals and stuff like that, but yeah, I think we're back in the flow of the witching week, and I'm going to very much try to bring some other videos to you. Certainly as we've got the lighter mornings and the lighter days, it means I can start filming a bit earlier in the morning as well. So because it was so difficult before because there just wasn't the light with my setup here, and I'm not an expert on lights and stuff like that, and I prefer natural light. So now that the days are getting longer, that actually gives me more opportunities for filming. We have actually gone into grass cutting season, so then that makes things a little bit more tricky, but again, that makes like very early in the morning like a good time for me here before the gardener gets in and starts making a lot of noise. So wishing you all an absolutely fantastic week. Have a great witching week, have a lovely weekend, and I'll be back next week with episode number 70. We're working our way towards 100. We're going to be there in no time at all. I think we'll have a little celebration when we hit episode 100. Wishing you a lovely week. Take care of yourself and others, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Love and blessings. Bye.